Beyond Your Backyard is brought to you in part by Montgomery County in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Southwest Virginia. Montgomery County, Virginia. Go to town.
Hi, I'm Erik the Travel Guy. You know, some have said it's better here than there, but I wanted to learn that for myself. That's why we're exploring Beyond Your Backyard in Boone, North Carolina.
My name is Erik Hastings. Yeah, that's me. And for as long as I can remember, I've always loved to travel. And I still do today. Airlines, hotels, cruises, new places, delicious food. I love all of it. And that's why I've been traveling the world professionally, doing the very same things you can do for more than a decade. So please consider this a personal invitation to join me each week on my mission to get you traveling more than ever before. Because while the world is a pretty big place to explore, your next vacation is waiting to be discovered not just around the globe, but perhaps just around the corner. Let me introduce you to the places, people, and secrets I've discovered that remind me just how exciting it is to be alive, and hopefully will inspire you to get out of the house and into your next great adventure. I am Erik the Travel Guy, and this is Beyond Your Backyard.
Thank you for watching and welcome back. North Carolina became the 12th state in the Union back on November 21st, 1789, and the town of Boone became incorporated back in 1875. In a world of modern-day amenities such as self-driving cars, cell phones, and the internet, it is pretty hard to understand what life was truly like back in the 17 and 1800s. Well, that's why we're here today. Of course, Boone has evolved with the times with plenty of amenities and services and a number of visitor attractions. But you know what? Boone has never forgotten its history. And we're going to explore a piece of that history today. We're also going to walk a mile high above the earth. We are going to soar across this picturesque landscape, and we're going to get in the kitchen with a chef who truly understands, appreciates, and serves authentic Appalachian cuisine. It's going to be a good one. Let's get started.
Once again, let's get out our trusty map just to get our bearings here. Now, by exiting off of Interstates 81, 77, or 40, you'll come upon the charming four-season destination known as Boone. Winston-Salem, North Carolina is located here, Asheville down here, and Kingsport, Tennessee right over here. The town of Boone has an estimated population of about 18,000 residents. Visitors come here for outdoor recreation, bluegrass music, authentic Appalachian food, and the Cherokee National Forest. But I decided to start exploring downtown.
Welcome to downtown. This is King Street, and it is quintessential Main Street, USA, but the vibe you'll feel definitely is filled with youthful energy.
The most obvious reason you'll see young people here is Boone is home to Appalachian State University, and downtown is adjacent to its campus. Downtown Boone is made up of shops, art galleries, and restaurants, and the like. And behind each one of these storefronts are hard-working owners. These are people who chose to support their local community by selling goods and services. And believe me, it's a hard business. But one place that comes to mind is MAST General Store. They've got a smaller location on King Street, but I wanted to see where it all began at their original location just outside the city limits.
How do you describe MAST General Store to somebody that's never stepped foot in one?
It's kind of like your great-grandmother's idea of a mall.
All in one place.
It's everything that you need. You don't have to walk from store to store. It's everything in one place.
When did it start?
This is where it all started. It was originally built by Henry Taylor in 1883. Things haven't changed a lot since probably the 1940s or 50s. But it was a happening place because just down the road we have the MAST Store Annex, which was once a competing general store.
No way.
It was built in 1909. And it was actually, one of the partners in it was a doctor named Dr. Perry, who had his first office in a lean-to shed on the other side of this room.
Got it.
So there was tourism in the early 1900s. People would come and stay a month or two to escape the heat. So this store was actually operated by the MAST family until probably the 1970s.
But there's a feeling here. There's a, well, to use a 1970s term, there's a vibe here. How do you describe that feeling? It's interesting to me.
There's a historian who wrote a history of Watauga County in 1915, John Preston Arthur, and he said there's a dreamy spell that hangs over this little valley. And I think it's not just a spell, it's kind of a different kind of magic, because when you drive that road from 105, you start to slow down, you start to notice the things around you, and you're basically just transported to a different time.
Got it.
So we like to do things kind of face-to-face, like we're doing now.
Right.
Our guests, when they come in, we like to interact with them and ask them and truly mean it. Can we help you today? What are you looking for? Oh, you're looking for a gift. Who are you getting it for? Let's give you some suggestions. So it's a real personal interaction. When you look at our stores, they're all a little different. They have a lot of the same merchandise, but some merchandise will be true to their town.
Yeah.
And when we go in, we want to learn the story of the building that we're in and not wipe out that story, but we want to help them continue that story.
Tell that story. Well, our story continues. I need to look around. It's good to meet you. Thank you for this.
After my visit with Sherry, I was really starting to feel nostalgic, as you can imagine, because Boone is filled with historic sites to explore. And I began to wonder, as I wandered about, was Boone named after the famous frontiersman Daniel Boone? Well, that's where my new friend Carson picks up the story.
Boone is moving through this area on the bequest of the Howard family. The Howards are wealthy landowners that are down east, and they own most of the area here. The large mountain that you can see from App State's campus is Howard's Knob. And they would hire surveyors to go onto their land to say, I saw this many deer and there are this many water sources and this is a rough map, things of that nature. So that's how Daniel Boone makes his living going into the frontier to support himself. So he came up here with a slave of the Howard family named Burl, and they spent some time looking around the area. We know for a fact that he more or less camped near the statue that's on Appalachian State's campus of him. We know that he scaled some of the peaks in the area, wrote a decent little bit about where the rivers come together. And a lot of the writings, interestingly enough, seem as though they would have been made as if he was standing on this hillside looking that direction.
That being said, what was life like at this period of time here? It really is sort of hard to even imagine when we start to take away all of these things that we're used to today, what it was like here.
So what you have are the people that are winding up in the mountains typically don't want to come to the mountains. Daniel Boone is by far the outlier here. You've got runaway indentured servants, you have runaway slaves, you have people that have gotten into trouble, and they all come up to the mountains. This area during the 1700s was known as the Lost Province. There are no roads in or out. So when you don't have roads in or out, you don't have tax collectors. So these people from the 1730s all the way up to the Revolutionary War are living in total freedom. And they're the first people of European descent on the continent to actually experience that. So they have families and they are raised away from the yoke of British tyranny. So they're not Americans though. They don't get swept up in this patriotic fervor during the Revolutionary War. There's something entirely different, this free state of Appalachia, if you will. Mm-hmm. And they pretty much stay throughout most of the Revolutionary War as non-combatants until 1780 when the British threatened this area.
How do you describe what Appalachia is?
It's definitely its own independent culture. It is made of rugged individualism, rich community life. It has its own culture and folk tales going back. If you're gonna study Appalachia as a whole, you almost have to study it from an anthropological perspective, like you're looking at some foreign tribe or something of that nature, just because of how different it is. Certainly it has ties to the United States, but there's also a lot of ties to the old countries. So you've got Scottish elements that are in play here, and Irish elements that are in play, and English elements, and actually a lot of the storytelling and stuff has African elements woven into it. So it is, if you could take the Atlantic world and distill it down, a lot of those remnants are still here in Appalachia.
Let's talk about the show.
Sure.
Longest running outdoor
Revolutionary
War outdoor drama in the country.
In the country, yes. So we were founded in 1952. Watauga County was having its centennial in 50. Mm-hmm. And we put together of a 400-person pageant that went through everything of Watauga County's history. And apparently it was like 3.5 hours long. So they came up here with an idea of creating a mountain drama In Boone, where at the time, the high in the summer is 72 degrees, and then it cools off in the evening. So they hired a playwright by the name of Kermit Hunter, and he was from the UNC School of Theater. And he came up here, stayed while he wrote it, and worked with the Southern Appalachian Historical Association. But the show is really about the regulators and the over-mountain men. So you have a family that's torn apart by the American Revolution, a loyalist family's son fights for the regulators, and because they love their son more than their country, they come to the mountains, and Daniel Boone's the one who leads them to freedom up here. But it's more or less a story about what does it mean to be an American, and how did all of these people arrive at this conclusion. And we actually end with the Battle of Kings Mountain. So that's your final point of transition from the old world, where English, we're Scottish, we're Irish, to a free state of Appalachia, we're an independent people, to this new concept of America.
This is summertime, springtime only, right?
Yes.
What can we expect when we're here?
So first thing, shout out to the farmers market. On a Saturday morning, there is nothing more fun than strolling through our farmers market. Our museum is actually open to the public for free on Saturday morning. So if you're wanting a place to go get your nice local made bagel or coffee and sit, we'd love to talk with you about history. So we have costumed interpreters, staffed, paid professionals in all of the cabins. And what we do is we set up a frontier village as it would have been in the 1700s up here. So you're gonna see people fleshing hides, and you're gonna see people shooting off their rifles, and we're gonna be cooking stews. And we talk about foodways and family. And more or less, you're going to get to walk through the kind of community in the museum that they set up in the show. So we are, in many ways, the historical balance for the work of historical fiction. Then at 8 o'clock, the curtain opens on the show, and for a 2-hour runtime, you are blown away by incredible dance numbers, large battles, moving narrations, and the little slogan we use is, we want you to live your history. Because it doesn't matter if your family helped start this country in '76, or you guys are just visiting. Collectively as people, this is all our shared history and heritage.
There's no doubt about it. Boone offers some of the most spectacular views you'll ever see. And if you love hiking or camping or just enjoying nature's beauty, then take the short drive here. This is Grandfather Mountain. And while they call it Grandfather, she is definitely the mother of all mountains. And I'll tell you why.
This is the tallest mountain in the Blue Ridge. The views are simply unbelievable. Plan on spending at least an hour to get the full effect.
Oh, and you absolutely have to walk across the mile-high swinging bridge. It's America's highest suspended footbridge, but you may not want to look down because you're a mile high.
The soundtrack to your Boone vacation is really up to you. But if you're looking for tunes that are a little more culturally authentic, then look no further than Bluegrass. You see, Doc Watson was born here, and if that name doesn't ring a bell, well, hit the internet, because after listening to his sound, you'll appreciate his prolific contribution to bluegrass, folk, and Appalachian music.
I have a trivia question for you. Where do you think the first amusement park in North Carolina was established? Well, I have the answer. It was right here. This is Tweetsie Railroad. And oh yes, we're getting on it. Let's go.
Visitors, especially rail aficionados with their kids, make a beeline to this Western-themed ride on an authentic steam train. Ride along behind engine number 12, which is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. When the shrill whistled train screams out, you'll know why early mountain residents nicknamed it Tweetsie. Some of the shrieking may be the passengers as the train crosses a trestle, circles a mountain, and encounters good guys and gals and bad guys and gals. After my short ride, I decided I just had to get closer to that scenic beauty, and that's why I dropped in on Sky Valley Zip Tours.
What are we going to do today?
Well, today we're going to take you on our Canopy tour. They call them zip lines. And so we have a tour that is basically 10 lines. We have a cliff jump, which is a vertical descent off a 45-foot rock cliff, and a 120-foot swinging bridge over this river that you hear behind us in the background. with a 35-foot cascade underneath it.
Now, to me, that sounds like a daredevil thing. Like, but the reality of it is, you have first-timers out here every day.
Absolutely. Probably the majority of the people that come out are first-timers.
Yeah. When somebody's out, maybe they're on a cruise, maybe they're down in the Caribbean, they see zip-lining tours or other canopy tours. Can you help us out a little bit about what to look for? I would imagine safety is right off the top, right?
You know, look for a company that is certified by the ACCT, which is the Association of Challenge Course Technology.
Okay.
That's a national standard. Insurance, of course.
Yep.
And online reputation, I think, goes a long way.
Absolutely. And is ziplining sort of a relatively new thing or no?
Probably the 70s, people started seeing different park services and different tourism destinations trying some things out, which has developed into this aerial adventures that you see a lot of places you go now.
And what do people say when they come down for the first time?
Wow, I want to do that again. I had one of my friends say that you call on the name of the Lord when you go across the valley. We get a lot of different reactions, you know, from people that are excited that they have overcome a fear to the adrenaline junkies that said that did it for me.
Got it.
You know, everybody gets something different out of it, which is something special to me.
But again, somebody watching this even right now going, oh my gosh, I'm terrified of heights. Is this something they should do, or are they're never gonna make it off the launch pad?
I think it would be natural for everybody to be a little scared of heights.
Yeah.
This is for everybody, you know, and we give people the opportunity to test their fears in an environment where it's very well taken care of as far as your safety, your harnesses, and all the checklists that we go through.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate this.
This is just one of many outdoor recreational activities found here in Boone, and it's worth noting that Boone is a four-season destination. You may be surprised at the skiing and snowboarding available very close in the winter months. The summers are warm with kayaking, tubing, and other water activities available to you and yours. Back in the present, I got back to those Appalachian roots at Over Yonder with chef owner Andy Long, and he was more than glad to show me how to prepare an authentic Appalachian meal.
1861, did I get that right?
So yeah, the original house, the Taylor family house, was built in 1861. That's this room we're in right now.
Yeah.
And the adjoining room behind us. These brick walls are original. They're 3 feet thick. As they expanded their family, they expanded the house into, and it took them about another 50 years to get it to the current state it's in.
I want to talk about Appalachian food. Does Appalachian have its own signature flavors, taste? How do you describe that?
For me, Appalachian food and cuisine at its most basic is a kind of a subgenre of Southern food as a whole. So you see a lot of familiar things, you know, a lot of corn, a lot of beans, a lot of squash, all those staples. Here you see things heavily preserved, pickled, dried, cured meats, you know, a lot of hams. That's a big thing here. So you take this really short growing period and you have to put all this stuff up and cellar it and save it for the winter.
How about seasoning, spices? What palate, where are we in that neighborhood?
So there are, you know, a lot of fresh herbs, a lot of forage things around here. You can go walk around in the spring and pick onions out of the ground anywhere. You can get ramps in the spring, you can get mushrooms, you know. So there are a lot of those added in for flavoring and for sustenance as well. If you are using good ingredients, I feel like that's all you need. You don't want to cover up those flavors of high quality ingredients.
When viewers come to Over Yonder, before they get here, what can they expect to see on the menu? What inspires you to put it down on a piece of paper and serve it?
It's trout, you know, North Carolina sourced rainbow trout. It is fried chicken. It is meatloaf.
Oh my God.
We do a shrimp and grits here that people like a lot. We do a tomato cobbler, which is kind of our version of a tomato pie. And we just kind of flip it upside down and serve it as a cobbler with the crust on the top.
Oh my gosh.
So those are things that will always be here. And then we have features that we change every few weeks depending on availability.
Got it.
So there's always really hyper seasonal items on the menu as well.
My mouth is actually watering. I can actually feel. What are we going to make today?
Today we're going to make trout. I mean, people come to the mountains, they want trout. They don't come to the mountains to eat snapper and mahi-mahi. So we're gonna do trout. If you have never cooked it before, you might be a little nervous to cook it.
That would be me.
It's super easy, yeah.
Sounds like a good plan. Let's go.
So in the market, you might see it like this. You might see whole fish when you have the head still attached. You're looking for a nice, almost like fresh melon or cucumber aroma, like smell when you smell the fish. Clear eyes, that means fresh. If the eyes are cloudy and if it smells like fish, it's still okay, but it's on its, it's on its way. So we're gonna start with a little butter and a little oil in the pan. I like to use both because the oil brings up the smoke temperature, keeps the butter from burning as quickly. The butter gives it a nice flavor. So first thing we're gonna do is season this with salt and pepper. And now we're gonna dredge it in this cornmeal. We're gonna just go ahead and hit both sides of it. Now we're going in the pan, and when you drop fish in the pan, you wanna be careful because that's hot oil. So I do the heavy end first, give it a shake like this so it's not sticking, and then just carefully drop it in there.
Wow, and that's skin side up.
You always wanna put your presentation side down first, and we're gonna present this up. This skillet is on high right now. For us, that's fine. If you're not comfortable with that, turn it down.
How many ounces here are we working with?
This is about an 8-ounce portion. We're gonna do basically a couple minutes on one side, a couple minutes on the other side.
And that's it.
Okay, so now we've got these edges starting to curl down a little bit. See how it's turning kind of white right there?
Yeah.
We're gonna go ahead and flip it.
Wow, simple. Just almost effortless. I think you've done this a couple times.
Once or twice. What we do is we go ahead and cut these pieces apart right here.
And now's the time to do it.
Yep, now's the time, after you flip.
After the flip.
While this is finishing, I'll go ahead and put our slaw together.
Perfect.
We use Napa cabbage, which is a little finer than like your regular green cabbage. Salt and pepper, shaved red onions, and we use a smoked almond. Sherry vinegar, olive or canola oil. We use canola. I don't like the strong flavor of olive oil. And a tiny bit of sugar, not much.
And that's it. Can you smoke almonds at your house?
Set them on the grill. I usually do a little oil on them, kind of helps the smoke stick to it. Cover it up, 5 minutes. Like it really doesn't take long.
This is a very easy thing to make.
Very easy, yeah.
And that little step alone, you get the bragging rights at dinner to say, oh, let's serve us smoked almonds. We're like, what? You made smoked almonds? I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just adding a little extra step.
So again, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes per side.
Yeah, it's totally done.
It's really...
And you can feel that it's very firm. It's just slightly springy here.
Oh, wow.
And see how it,
right?
Yeah, see how it springs back when you touch it?
Chef, this looks amazing. I wish they could smell how it smells fresh and not fishy.
Yeah, and then what we serve with this is a smoked onion tartar sauce, but it's smoked onions, lemon juice, capers, pickled brine. We make all our pickles here. We save the brine and put that in there. And Duke's mayo, of course. We serve it with stone ground grits.
Can we try it?
Absolutely.
All right, well, come on, get in here.
Yeah, go for it.
Slaw. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. That, my friend, is mountain food.
You taste the fish. That's what you're supposed to taste.
That's what you're supposed to. Chef, thank you for this. Well, we've come to the end of the episode, which means we have to part ways. And usually I try to come up with something really witty or introspective to say, but I decided to skip all that because I don't want you to miss a single minute of your next vacation to Boone, North Carolina. I'm Erik the Travel Guy. Thank you for exploring beyond your backyard.
Hi, I'm Erik the Travel Guy. You know, I've been traveling all over the world for more than a decade, and you know what I've discovered is that fantastic experiences await you in every corner of the globe, and you don't always have to travel that far to uncover them. So join me each week as we go on and off the beaten path, as we learn something new and get in the kitchens of some of today's hottest chefs. We're exploring beyond your backyard.
Beyond Your Backyard is brought to you in part by Montgomery County in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Southwest Virginia. Montgomery County, Virginia. Go to town.